Mm-hmm.
Hello, how are you guys?
Hi.
We've got Mandee with us over here. We're super excited to be with you on this wonderful Monday. We are streaming today a little differently because we've tested the waters. Before, when we were with HAPS, we could each stream to our own thing. Okay. So it made it like it was always the same every single week. But then we went to StreamYard, and so things have changed a little bit. But at the same time, we're going to alternate between who we channel on, and so we're going to have Mandee's people today and her team's people today commenting, and I'm really excited to see her people because I feel like your people are awesome people, and I'm sure from that part of the world there's a different perspective and some of the stuff that we see, feel, understand, and experience. So I'm really cool to see like the different conversations.
I know, me too. And it's just, I'm really grateful that like for all of our instant gratification, because we could only dream up doing these video shows like a few years ago. And now we have all of these options. And like when one thing fails, we try out another one. It'll be cool. We'll see who all can see us and join us. It's always part of the excitement of this. And I'm just excited to hold space. It's Spirit Speaks and it's Spirit time. We're right on the eve of solstice. So we just had a full moon too. So there's a lot of things kind of dying off and releasing right now and a lot of new coming in at the same time.
It seems like it's pretty chaotic for people. And so first off, hi, Heather. Thank you. And hello, Jennifer Barnes. We've got hello. Hope everybody is well. We are well. We hope you're well too. But what I've received with clients is a lot of people are shutting doors. And when we shut doors, it kind of tends to get a little chaotic in our life and things start to stir up pretty bad. And then in the midst of fighting letting that like ego part go from who we are to be reborn into who we need to be for the next 10 years of our lives, I see some people really struggling because like that part of their ego is like, this is bad and everything is crap and my life is sucking. And so it's like these great transitions that I'm seeing and people learning how to understand the lessons behind the doors that are closing and trying to refocus on the chaos that they're experienced through. And I'm like, 10 years ago, Mandee, that would not have been a conversation ever that I would have heard. And I wouldn't have understood it even if I did. So there's some really cool things. I was like, when you talk about those spiritual things, all are these, universal spiritual things that are happening. It's all for us. And it feels like it's crazy. So like, you and Ursula talked last week about the Venus retrograde that is going to be going on. And I'm actually going to, Mandee, this is your time to plug your class with this.
Okay. Yeah, Ursula and I with Sea Goddess Healing Arts, we are hosting a Venus retrograde class. We started a series called Reaping the Rewards of Retrograde, and Ursula is a professional astrologist. And so what she does is she lets us know all of the things that are happening for us according to our birth charts. So if you sign up for the class, it's called Reaping the Rewards of Venus retrograde, and it starts on, when does it start? I remember now. It starts on Sunday.
I put her on the spot. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. Sunday, January 9th, and it goes for 3 weeks. We have so many things going on right now. So I'm like, which one does that one start? And if you can't make it live, it'll be recorded. And what'll happen is you'll get like a mini birth chart reading. And then we also hold space. And January 9th, Glenda's going to be there. She's got us. And so it'll go for about an hour and a half each Sunday for 3 weeks. And we take a look at your birth chart and your placement and where that is with retrograde, with Venus, and what that looks like for you personally, according to your chart, and the things that your soul is signing up to work on at this time. And while we take a look at all of those things and the grander energy of how we can use this time to work with us and work for us, we also hold space together for whoever signs up for the class. So it turns into half education and half circle holding, and it's a really nice, warm and cozy space, and it's an opportunity just to go a little deeper with yourself and with the stars.
And see why I thought that was a good time to plug that, because it's an amazing opportunity. We talked a little bit about the happenings since what dreams I've been having, and it went hand in hand with what Ursula was talking about last week. So if you missed the show, I would go and I'd watch it.
Yeah, check it out. And check out SeaGoddessHealingArts.com. There's a whole tab up there for classes. It's 3 weeks. It's $44, and we'd be honored if you wanted to join us.
So all of these things, like, when people talk about retrogrades, they talk about them in a bad way. They're like, oh, they blame Mercury retrograde for this or this or this. And so it's the flipping things and seeing it in a different way that empowers you to be able to move through the changes in a positive way for your life and take on those things that are learning moments, not chaos that is like just attacking us from everywhere for no reason. It's happening for us, for our growth. And it's weird how some of us are so ingrained with seeing those things, because even through my readings, once again, I'm like, wow, being a part of these conversations of growth was not where I was at 10 years ago. And so it's really kind of an honor to be able to say that I'm a part of them now and actually be able to understand on some level what they mean. So it's just cool.
Amazing. And one of the things that we're not taught, like retrogrades, they get a bad rep because a lot of times the technology or the internet will interrupt, or things will just kind of go wrong. It's not a good time usually to sign contracts or sign up for new things, but it's because we're not meant to be in constant bloom. We're not meant to be in constant state of growth all the time. If you look at nature, like, we literally have seasons. We have times where we're rooting and we're germinating and we're sprouting and we're blooming and we're dying off and we're reintegrating. Retrogrades, whenever they come around, they're an opportunity for us to integrate and to take a look at all this amazing knowledge that we acquired and all this wisdom that we gained, and then an opportunity to practice it and to take a look at it and to slow down and to rest and to reset. And so Venus is really focused a lot of it on our relationship space and our love space. A lot of the Mercury stuff has to do with our own inner ascension, our personal growth, kind of like our inner shadows, the things we're stubborn about within ourselves. The Venus is a nice look at our relationship space, whether that's whatever kind of relationship that might be. It's about how we show up in them, and relationships are our greatest teachers always. So this is going to be a really potent and deep one for all of us to take a look at, especially coming out of this crazy COVID chapter that we just had.
So you just touched on relationships like being the biggest thing. Once again, clients, because what I experience is, generally speaking, it's like a collaborative consciousness experience. So if I'm receiving a lot of clients a specific way, then other readers, channelers may be too. And I'm seeing that people are just starting to realize, or are getting bestowed upon them, I guess, the understanding that the most important relationship is the marriage between spirit and self. And if we hate and demonize our own partner, who we've contracted to like live this life with, then that's where the chaos starts, is inside. And then it goes outward to each and every other relationship. And that's essentially what causes those same frictions, because that's why, if you don't love yourself, you can't love anybody else. That's why those things are said, because we don't even know what a marriage is for us. We don't know what that is. And I've seen a lot of people over the last week and a half, which probably goes hand in hand with this Venus retrograde. But I've seen a lot of people coming to terms with the fact that they really don't love their first spouse, which is self, as much as they thought they did, because those, layers are starting to peel off. And there's a lot of things that are kind of coming to the surface with those feelings and those emotions and stuff like that. Are you also seeing some of those things with your people?
Oh, yeah. With my people, with my personal life, it's just what is in the air right now. And it's an opportunity for all of us to take a look at kind of our shadows and our triggers, see what's coming up, and see what that means for us. And often what it reveals is there's a reason why we're reacting the way we are. I had my friend and a beautiful guest, Gail Prince, on our show, Saltwater for the Soul, last week. And she talked all about how we were discussing kind of the juiciness of learning how to transmute your reactions into responses. And she was talking about how when you are unconscious and you are reacting, it's always from a place of within. It might be something's pissing you off and annoying you, but why? Why is that coming out of you at this time? What is it in you that is uneven or imbalanced? Why are you reacting this way? Sometimes we as women, yeah, we're hormonal or there's certain things like that, a little here and there. But most of the time, it's because there's something else going on. It's because our boss is treating us like shit and we're overwhelmed and we're not able to speak our truth and we're just sucking it up. Or, we've asked the kids to clean up something 1,000 times and it's just not happening and we're like over it and we don't know how to like recommunicate. There's something in us that's bubbling up that's not getting spoken, that's not getting seen, that's not getting heard, and there's a reason that we're wanting to react that way. And that's where we get to do a lot of this work, and a lot of these dances lie.
It's so crazy because once again, it's not healing the way that we're taught to heal, and it's not understanding pain the way that we were taught essentially to handle those things in the past. It's just so much growth has happened, I guess, is what I'm saying, and spiritually speaking around me that I have witnessed. And I'm like, okay, so yeah, some of this stuff has been here before. Like, I get it. A lot of this stuff existed way before Crystal opened up her damn eyes and was like, I see the light. But at the same time, a lot of these changes have come across because of all of the people who are finally starting to step out of certain aspects of what spirit used to be represented as and really started honing in on what that truth is internally, which is inevitably causing this beautiful change taking place that we see around us. And I think that's really cool because the world is very different today in a positive way versus where it was 10 years ago. And when you really try to see those things, and that's why that changing that behavior or changing that thought process is so important along your journey, because it's going to help you understand and lift out of the noise that's taking place that essentially just holds us back. And that's the beauty of all the things that have been, I guess, occurring over the past 10 years that I've seen.
And no one was taught to have a relationship with self. And like, a lot of us are kind of recovering from religions and certain dogmatic practices and things where it was like, God is number one. And, it didn't make sense to a lot of people. And once you do really kind of pull back the layers, it kind of does make sense. And there were these certain truths. And if you don't have any self-love or self-respect or self-worth, or if when you're thinking about that, it resonates as, I don't know, I can remember people like even just getting in a fight with my mom in high school. And she was just like, have you no self-worth? And I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, so it makes sense. It'd be one of my things that I need to teach, but it didn't resonate. I was like, oh man, I don't, and so, but the thing is, the seed was then planted and I was able to discover that and what that looks like and what that really means. And that was part of my soul lesson when I chose to incarnate. But if you just feel a little lost, like, you are not the only one, and none of us were taught this, and we're all remembering and rediscovering this together. And we have so many people jumping on. I want to say hello.
Hello, everybody. We have Glenda, Susan, who is also a fellow empath. She says, Susan Nelson, welcome to the journey. It's a fun one. We have Glenda also. She says, ha ha ha. Yes, everything has been aggravating me lately, and I'm like, Glenda, chill. She is chill. She usually is pretty copacetic in all things in life, and she's like, not having it apparently.
We all get to ourselves. I'm like, Mandee, calm down now.
To be completely honest, I've actually been like the chillest I have been in the longest time, and Crystal's usually the complete opposite. She's like up here, but I haven't been having. I'm just like, whatever.
Well, I just can't. Venus lies in your chart when that all comes to fruition. Because if you're finding calmness now as all the relationship stuff is stirring up, it's probably showing you did a lot of your work.
Woohoo! I feel like that has to I'm just going to say, after the crap that I've been through in my life and the crap that I laid on my own plate, if that is not the case, I just don't deserve this job. Period. End of story. It's like, this girl was a hot mess on all accounts when it came to, I was talking to Ben actually just the other day. I was like, okay, so I'm going to probably piss a lot of women off with this comment, and just please know, I've done a lot of soul searching with this. So when I talk about myself this way, it's because I know that if this was a reaction that I was getting, I'd be like, what in the actual F is taking place? So please know, I was not crazy, but boy, was I certifiable. There was this ex-boyfriend. And it was because I didn't understand the emotions and all of the things. Because as an empath, how many of us, and I'm going to say, Mandee, man, I know you've been through this. It's like when everything finally comes to the surface through our bad relationship choices, and then like the lies are just poof, laid out on the table, and you see 100% everything. And you don't have an ability to receive any more of those weird things that we were supposed to be learning throughout the time of being in the relationship. But it all comes out. And then when it comes out and they still try to gaslight, or they still try to manipulate, and they still try to blame, I had a really hard time being a nice human being. And I actually ended up going completely insane on this ex-boyfriend that I had. And it was literally, he was who he was. Yeah, he was a liar. He was a cheater, essentially. He was these bad things. But that did not warrant my eruption from hellfire that took place down upon him. And I'm like, no wonder why these people think I'm insane. Like, because that's the representation of who they received. And that was because that's how I acted. And I had no balance in anything. It was either I was too loving or I was too hard. There was no balance between the two. And it was the craziest thing. So I sometimes look back on those relationships and I actually laugh out loud, because I'm like, oh my God, I can't. I'm such a whoo. I feel like those were the moments that should have been taped so I could use as proof, because I'm not that person anymore.
But that's just it. We all just do our best. And that's when you get to really find out that you've grown and you have a lot of self-worth and self-respect, because when people do things that are disrespectful, towards us or our relationship, or dishonor the agreement or commitment we made to one another, or whatever it is, it's important to have healthy boundaries. And it's okay to have some sacred anger about what went down. And like, that wasn't okay. That was violated. But when you are in a really solid place, not only do you not rarely attract that sort of thing into your realm, right, but also you have the opportunity to say, hey, I love you. This is shitty. I love me more. Yes. And this is wild behavior that I don't deserve. And I'm just not going to be a part of it. Like, peace. And you're disappointed. You're bummed. You speak from loving assertiveness, but you don't have that same reaction anymore, because you're like, it's not even worth this in my own vessel to come out. You're like, that's disappointing, but all right. And so things like shift and move, and it does happen. And like Crystal said, like, we have all been there. We're merely humans. We learn via every single experience that we have, and you got to get in there and get in the ring to learn how to fight and practice and do the art of it, right?
Oh yeah, I was in the ring a couple times. I'll just put it that way. There is a version of me out there that I'm scared of, because I'm like, holy crap, like seriously. And I get it. It was where I was. I was still just this like, I don't know, wounded little girl. I really was. And so every single thing was almost essentially tap dancing on every trauma that I had, because in my perspective, I guess there was a lot. I just didn't know how to see those as traumas until I started that journey. And then I started to realize certain things. And so it was really, it's really funny, but I look back and it's like, holy crap, past life version of me that I don't want to relive again. It's almost like she doesn't exist, but unfortunately to somebody else she does. And that's how they see me. And I have to laugh about it. I laugh about it because I'm like, it's just like so polar. Ben all the time, I talk all the time about this stuff, and he's like, I couldn't see you like that. And I'm like, bro,
and like, trust me. Do you actually exist, or are you just holding space as a memory for someone? Because that moment in time doesn't exist anymore, and you have grown and shifted and released that timeline. And so, and at the same time though, too, like, I joke around. I've got a couple clients who like have done a lot of growing and have had like a lot of, we'll say high tempers and shit in the past, stuff like that. And I'm kind of like laughing. Yeah. And I'm kind of laugh sometimes, because I'm like, because I get to see the angel side, and I'm like, even on your worst day, like there was just certain things that had to take place, and like your reaction was still sacred, and it still had an impact or planted a seed or needed to happen that day to release something. And so when we can look back on the past and like rock ourselves and love ourselves and say, hey, like, It's okay. I did react this way, but it was my inner child. My inner child was wounded and she needed to be loved and held and rocked. And that part of me doesn't even exist anymore. The only thing that exists is the now and present moment and what I'm co-creating with my thoughts today that co-create the future. The past really are merely memories. And when we can get to the point where we look at the past or something that happened and release the emotion that we have attached to it, it then becomes wisdom. It becomes knowledge. It becomes an experience that happened without an emotional charge. And so have grace with yourself. Everyone who's listening, have grace. Yeah. What's this?
I was like, you wanted to see that. You're going to want to see this one. That's why I pulled it up. That was so sweet. Thank you, Heather.
Oh, that's lovely.
I know. Oh, that's exactly why we do it. I told Mandee today, I was like, we're building an empire, and everybody that's watching is a part of that empire if they so choose to take the journey. It's not just us here, but at the same time, that's what all of this is about, because you're all opening to your gifts, and those gifts are multitudes of layers of different things, and they're hard to take on. And I'm sure Mandee probably wished at some point in time she had somebody who knew something to give her on her journey, because it probably was very frustrating for her to have to work through herself. And I know I experienced that. So that's literally why I do it.
Always. But when I look back, there was always a helping hand. That, like, my favorite prayer, and one I say most days after when I wake up and I set my shield and I say my gratitudes, I ask, please, that which I need to know be revealed. Because there is so much to learn in this world and in this realm, and we're constantly beating ourselves up about not doing enough and not knowing enough. And one of my other favorite prayers is the Lightworker's Prayer, and it's from A Course in Miracles, and it says, I'm here to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent that which sent me. I do not have to think about what to do or say, because that which sent me will direct me. I am happy to be wherever they wish, knowing that they always go with me. I will be healed as I allow the healing to happen through me. And when you start to sit in that energy, you realize that the resources you need, the teachers you need, the support you need, it all shows up every day in the most magical ways. And every single time I hold space with a client, I learn something. I grow. There's something I didn't know about before. There's something that expands me in a different way. Sometimes do I have more of the knowledge and hold some of the space? Like, yeah, that's like what I'm getting, that's what I'm doing as a business and getting paid to do in that moment. But that doesn't mean that there isn't something else for me to learn there at that time too. Whenever I need something, I pray for that and it shows up. And I have different teachers now that I love, that I've met via all these shows and in different ways. And I have wonderful soul sisters that have shown up, and it'll just be the cool, most random things at the most random times. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, that's the exact healing I needed right now. And that was the exact knowledge I needed right now. Like, thank you, angels, for dropping that in. And thank you for allowing me to be humble enough to be in a constant state of receiving. Because that's hard too, especially when you start to know a lot. Sometimes you get ahead of yourself a little bit and you're not always coming back down into these present small moments where a lot of the subtle lessons and hints and beautiful, beautiful, magical notes lie.
Oh. See, last week I had a reading where, and the same as you, I mean, I learn through every single person that I do, whether it's something I already know or not. There's always tidbits that maybe I need to hear still, or reminders or whatever.
Yeah.
I had channeled for this person and I had a really hard time channeling for them. And it wasn't because, this is why, guys, I tell you, like, it's so important to do all of the things that we do along with this. I'm not saying it through me. I'm saying it because this is like the boot camp my guides have taken me through over the past like 10 years of my life. If you only get through to one layer, you're only going to be able to see up until that layer. You're not going to be able to see beyond and beyond and beyond. And to me, and I'm not even stating me per se, because I know I still have so much to do, but I'm also going to say that, like, the better you are at reaching the next layer, the better you're going to be at seeing through all of life's perspectives with love, empathy, and understanding. And I was essentially unable to channel for this person in that moment because it hit so hard on one of the triggers that I still experience in my life. And so it was difficult for me to be able to channel through somebody else's perspectives because it was a trigger of mine with somebody that I love. And so right afterwards with that reading, I kind of looked at Ben and I was like, well, that was a pretty big push, because apparently if they're giving it to me in that big of a way for me to see it, it means that that's part of what's holding me back from getting to where I need to be. And so in that moment, I'm like, okay, Crystal, it's time to really work on this one and really figure out what that next step looks like for you. And that's why the layers are important to see through, because we have to be able to have empathy for all things, because everything needs that love. And if they like, I'll talk about this in ghost or spirit purposes, just because that's how I life. If I come across somebody who's like a really crappy human being, let's say they were a murderer and serial killer, whatever, Ted Bundy, yeah, we'll do him. What if I ran into him somewhere? I would still have to have empathy and love for him, because somewhere in him, he was also broken. If he wasn't, he wouldn't have been able to do that. And so my job is to essentially counsel that moment and counsel that feeling, counsel whatever it is that I see on that layer to the person who did the other stuff, so then I can pass them along to the other side, because everybody's waiting for them. The love doesn't hold back. That's our ego. Like, that doesn't exist over there. So even Ted Bundy's in heaven, and so is Hitler. And that's something that we have.
People get
like, we have
sometimes.
Yeah, I get looks. They're like, I feel like I crush their soul a little bit when you say that, but it's like, it's the ego that wants there to be that, thing that holds us accountable, because it's really hard not knowing that there's a judgment that's going to hold somebody accountable for something that they did. And I understand that, because it's hard, but at the same time, that's also karma. And that's also our way of reliving things to receive empathy and to receive understanding. And sometimes people are just placed in our lives essentially to be the demon in our path, to help raise us up and do better for ourselves. And so holding on to that instead of thanking them for taking on that karma to teach us something in life is also like a kick in the knee, because you've got to realize all those layers.
Absolutely.
And that's hard.
It's hard, and it's the opportunity to build trust. It's the opportunity to say, okay,
Yes.
I don't fully understand everything that's happening in this crazy ass matrix we co-created, but there is something, like, there's this golden thread that's weaving through. There's this truth I believe in. There's this opportunity for me to say, okay, well, what if it is all handled divinely? Now, that's not to say, like, we need to break patterns in this generation now. That's why it's not cool to physically abuse your kids anymore, when like 50 years ago, that was totally the norm and like super well accepted. We are making these strides in certain ways with certain things in order to have a better way of treating one another and healing. And I think all of us are born with this beautiful moral compass where we know intuitively whether we're doing something right or wrong. And we're not supposed to have all this guilt, shame, and fear that we have. The closest, I think, is like this hint of remorse. Whereas like, if like when you're a little kid, I always say, and you hit your brother or your sister and they cry, you're like, oh my God, like I hurt them, I feel bad. You're like, I'm sorry. And they're like, it's okay. But if your brother's like, you hit me when we were 3 and I hate you forever, then like, it's gonna create some sort of wound. And I think that moral compass is what redirects us back into the truth and our morality and the right from wrong. And when our needs aren't getting met, we're wanting to act out. Is there a small percentage of the population that's sociopathic and that we can't help? For sure, no doubt about it. But I think most people get mislabeled. I think most of the time we're writing people off when really they just have some traumas and dramas they need to heal, and they're just acting out.
Yep. When I hear somebody else say that, first off, thank you, Mandee, because there's been so many people in my life specifically that are just like, it's so weird how people can be attacked essentially for loving people no matter. And no, I don't in my own life. I have people who mistreat me in my own life, and it's not that I don't love them. I just really don't like them sometimes, because the cycle keeps on repeating. Okay, but that's my life, and that's what I'm dealing with. And I know it's wrong essentially to have those feelings and stuff, but I'm also in the midst of the trauma. So once again, you got to give yourself love and be like, whatever. These other people did nothing to me. Their stories, their paths, their situations, they weren't a part of me specifically. And that's another thing that people really have a hard time with, because they're like, okay, well, you're not empathic. You're not this, because how can you not care about? It's not that I don't care that things are happening on this level or to these people or this situation. Look at the sex trafficking. I hate that that happens. And I think that that's something that's horrendous that needs to be dealt with probably first.
Yeah.
And here we are dealing with other things.
Our real epidemic, but continue.
Right.
Among
But
many
at
others.
the same time, my job and my path is not to give up my life to stop that situation. It's not. And you can't hold me accountable for not being that person when you yourself are not doing it either. You know, there's so many people who like to point fingers at everybody else who are trying to do things different, see things different, experience life differently. And then you have all these people around you constantly trying to poke those fingers and tell you how what you're seeing is wrong and blah, blah, blah. But they're not doing jack shit in their own lives to change the way they see. So it's like one of those situations where a lot of people struggle because society tells us it's wrong to have that empathy, to have that understanding, to raise yourself to that different level so you can see through other people's eyes. No, they want to completely damn everybody, whether you did something or not. That I'm realizing that the system of, you know, thank you. I'm going to say it the way that my guides just gave it to me. They were like, hold up. They're going to say it in a different way. Okay. The 10 Commandments, for instance, who decided that one thing was higher than another thing? You know, it doesn't matter how you look at it. Wrong is wrong is wrong is wrong. Because if I lie to somebody, let's say I lie to Ben about cheating, okay, that would damage the man. So if I were to, you know, murder somebody, it may affect people the exact same way that it would Ben. You don't get to tell people what they feel about a specific thing and how much they can heal or how much they can't heal and what their growth should look like and what their other growth shouldn't look like, because you are staying stuck in the same mentality. So it's a lot that you guys are dealing with. And I know a lot of my clients are struggling with getting to those different layers because family, friends, society keep trying to pull us back at our heels and say, nope, we still got to hold grudges. Remember, this person's bad. Or you have to do it this way because that's bad. Or you're a witch. How dare you, you know, use your gifts. That's bad. It's eternal damnation on every level at this point. And it causes so many people to stop or want to stop because they don't know. It's almost like red light, green light.
Yeah. It is. Oh, we got some new people.
It's like, we do have new people. I'm sorry. That was a big, long monologue. Sorry.
Girl.
It went on a whole thing with that because, once again, that's like so much of what holds people back is their fear out of what people are going to do around them.
Exactly. And what other people think. So like we can never talk about that enough.
No.
True. And this is where we have the opportunities to trust, and where I had a beautiful client where we're always learning things, right? I had a beautiful client last week. I wish she was on here now. She's not. But she was like, yeah, I was doing some research and I realized that the word alone actually was originally like all one. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? And I had never put that one together, but I'm always, you know, talking about different words like that and what they originally mean. And I'm like, that makes so much sense. And when you're feeling alone, it's your opportunity to trust and to draw in on spirit and your angels and those who came before you to hold you and to rock you, and your higher self to tune in with that. And when you're not tuning in or connecting with someone else around you, it's because their energy is probably not going to serve you right now. Even if it's your best friend in the world, if they're a little down and you're needing some positive vibes, then they're not the one for you at that moment in time.
Right.
Jennifer, beautiful comment. I realized that me wanting to save the world in a sense was holding me back. It's okay to help others, but you can't pour from an empty cup. Truth. The best thing that we can do is honor our inner stirrings, our inner feelings, our passions, our inner knowings. It is okay to want to help save the world and contribute to that. But this entire, whatever we want to call it, World War III, spiritual world war, new revolution, new earth, this entire thing, it's this whole thing is going to happen because we are evolving eternally. It's an internal battle. Like this revolution starts with inner evolution. So we have to evolve within ourselves. And the best way that we can do that is to remember we are all one. And if we can be responsible for our own energy and our own healing and dealing with our own bullshit traumas and dramas and showing up for ourselves and having our daily routines and doing things that bring our hearts joy and magic and light and sit in this place of mostly trying to be at peace and healed most of the time and receiving, then just that alone is going to change the world. And then if on top of that, you want to share your creations or whatever it is you're putting out in there, whether you're starting a fundraiser or creating art or sharing words like Crystal and I are, whatever it is, then when it's time to do that, it's important to do that from a full cup and doing the things that you know that serve you in order to do that. I worked all day. I had clients. I was recording shows. This is my last one of the night. Before I got on here with all you guys, I was like, I need to drink some water. I need to make some tea and do some yoga and like get pumped up so that I can take care of me and my vessel so that I can be there and be of service and feel good and feel engaged. Like every single opportunity, every single moment is an opportunity to draw into yourself and to show up as the better version of yourself. Sometimes the best version of yourself needs a rest. Sometimes the version of yourself needs a little motivation to move and do something. Sometimes the best version of yourself needs some permission that it's okay to just be and to take it one moment and one step and one day at a time. Like I said, it's all a dance. It is not an easy thing. And each single moment and day, we have an opportunity to work on it.
See, I love Mandee. I like it how both the spirit, you can tell when spirit takes over both of us. Yeah. It's almost like it just goes, and then it just like goes on. It's almost
energy.
Like I was gonna say, to me, it almost feels like I'm like just spewing, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, it needs to be said, and that's exactly what I love. It. Glenda says, "Oh my God, I totally agree with this." When you said 10 Commandments, my ears got excited. The guides have always given it to me because, you know, when I was first starting out, I used to hate certain people also because that's where I was. And they were like, okay, a sin is a sin is a sin. And you can't kind of justify within you, that's not your job. You know, if you want to believe in God, then you kind of need to remember that God is the only judge and jury. We don't have that right to be that within us. Our job is to just understand on the level that we can understand and move forward. And so just kind of, and I know it sounds so heartless to some people to say, let it go, but let it go doesn't mean ignoring that it happened. It doesn't mean that it wasn't traumatic for you. None of those things. That's not what that is. It just means that I love myself enough to walk through whatever doors are open to me so that I can start the healing journey, no matter what that means for this person, this experience, this whatever. And so, yeah, I'm going to let that go in the past. That is what it is. And I'm going to move forward with a new me, new heart, new experiences to kind of visit what that looks like in the future. And that even is a representation that you can use for yourself if you have a loved one on the other side, because it's not, you'll never say goodbye. You know, just because they're over here doesn't mean that there's a goodbye taking place. It means that both of you are moving forward the same time, holding hands through a healing process that neither one of you, I mean, maybe wanted to do, especially if it was traumatic. You think spirit wants to die? No, they don't. They still have pieces of themselves. And so, Lord have mercy.
Wow.
Anyway, sorry. I stopped and I blocked somebody who was trying to get people to get readings. So that's essentially what it is.
Crystal and I have made it very clear on our shows, like we will never reach out to you and tell you need a reading. And we see it all the time on like my favorite teacher, Rebecca Campbell's page. There was just a troll the other day. Like it's all over for all kinds of people. But for you, if you're feeling like you want a message, go ahead and ask us, reach out to us,
yes,
with us. We will never say, I'm feeling called to give you a reading. It's just coming through without you asking us or showing up or commenting or whatever it is. So we did have someone on here who was just coming on and reaching out to someone saying, connect with me. I will give you a reading, and Crystal blocked them. So that's what happens.
Yeah, sorry. I was in the middle of talking, but at the same time, it's just one of those things. I think you guys get it. But I am going to say that Mandee is a beautiful person who likes to pull cards for people every now and then and do some of that stuff. And Mandee, are you on board with that tonight?
Yeah, if someone wants a card, let me know. I'd be honored to.
If you're open to guides chiming through or somebody else chiming through,
Yeah.
also just ask questions if you guys want to. Glenda says, LOL, you two know that Glenda will always reach out to you.
Yes, Linda.
I love Glenda so much. I really, really do. Um,
We really
I
love
feel
you.
like I was gonna say I know it's gonna happen, but I really cannot wait to meet her in person. I think it's gonna be fun.
Oh, we're all gonna meet, and it's gonna be awesome. Oh,
Um,
said she'll do
Jennifer
it.
Jennifer says, I tell my kids all of the time, I don't hate anyone, and no one is worth that energy. That's a great thing to teach people. Heather Harold says that she would do a card, and then Sophia also said, yeah, always wanting a card. So we've got a lot of yes, pleases.
Perfect. We're gonna start with Heather. What were you gonna say, Crystal?
I was gonna say I don't know. If guides decide to chime in, I will have guides chime in too. Also, I didn't mean to put that all on you, Mandee. I'm sorry. I was like, oh, Mandee likes to pull cards. Do you want a card? And here you are working hard for your money now.
It didn't even feel that way. I'm actually looking for my pendulum right now. I'm like, where not pendulum? It's like what's it called? I always feel like Winnie and Hocus Pocus, like book, but like pendulum, where are you? I found it. It was in my purse. Okay, so first up, Heather would like a card, please and thank you. Angels, what messages would you like to send to Heather? As we approach the holiday season and the new year, what message does Heather need in this moment? Ooh, you got two. Number one, the big guy, Archangel Michael. You are protected. Thank you, Michael, for surrounding me with your protective light. The angels are nodding and actually saying, like, Heather, they're just showing your heart being so shielded and so loved and so protected. And you've been trying to do this work and show up for yourself. There's been a lot of distractions and a lot of heartache and harder transitions, but you keep showing up for yourself. And even on the days that you forget or maybe don't make it the most conscious, like they are there for you. They are with you a lot right now. I don't know if you're actually seeing any flashes of blue or blue orbs or blue energy around you, but it is around you. And don't be surprised if you do end up seeing that at some point. And they want you to know, like, you're very close with Archangel Michael. And I think you've been talking to him directly. I'm not positive. You can comment and let us know. But they're saying that he's really hearing you and working with you. And then your next one is study and learning. Thank you, angels, for allowing me to see that every day is a learning day. This is really supporting exactly what I just told you. There's so much happening as far as your growth, and sometimes the harder things, the grief in life, the shit storms that we go through are the best times for us to get muddy and to learn and to go through things. They're also showing you literally escaping with a book. If you enjoy reading or an audiobook, now is the time to do it. And if you're already deep in one, let us know what it is, because we love to share our book resources on this show. So this one was for Heather, and I'm sending you loads and loads of love. And so are the angels.
Sorry, I was not. I feel like seemed like I was distracted while I was doing that. I wasn't, Heather. I was paying attention. She says that she thinks she met Ariel, the name I got through meditation. That is awesome.
Are you still with Heather and I at this time? Hold on, let me move this forward. Angels, are you still with Heather and I at this time? This is my neutral. They're saying yes. Thank you. Show me neutral. Has Heather been working with or contacted by Archangel Ariel and their legion? Yes.
Yes.
So you got
Look at you getting it, girl.
Yes. Show me neutral. Thank you. Yeah. So you're getting a yes on that. Ariel is a really, really nice one when it comes to just shining our light, speaking our truth, coming in with radical, radical love and rocking, and is a really nice, like, angel to guide you at this time. So enjoy that connection, sister.
It's really funny because, like, when angels come through to me, I usually see the color representation. I don't really know the angels unless I call upon them, but I'll make sure I look them up first. But when clients are seeing angels, it comes through as orb colors for me. So I'm always like, okay, well, it's this angel. And then I'm in my head, I'm like, is it that angel? And they're like, just go with it, girl. Seriously, like, we're giving it to you for a reason. This is what it is.
And angels are for me, angels are a compilation of angels, guides, spirit guides, ancestors, extraterrestrial beings from different dimensions. It's any support or helper being that are there to help us. And we have a whole team of them. Sometimes they're animals. Like there's a lot that come in to support us. So it's okay. And I don't get a lot of names. Some people are amazing channels and get a lot of names. I don't get a ton of names because, we have so many different incarnations. There's so many different names each lifetime. And then it seems to me that our names kind of on a soul level are more of a sound or a frequency, like that. So I don't know.
That was the most awesome representation of what that actually is, because people would be like, what? But at the same, oh my God, that just made me laugh so hard.
Yeah.
It's just a sound. It's not. Yes, and I don't get names either when I channel, and that's actually frustrated me for years. I'm like, you can give me this, and this, but you can't give me Harold. I mean, come on now. I mean, this is the stupidest thing on earth. Just give me a GD name.
Yeah, and if it's a name of someone, like sometimes I'll get it in a confirmation if it's someone who recently transitioned and they're connecting with that aspect of their soul from this lifetime. Because I believe very much me is Mandee, Crystal is Crystal. Like we are just us in this one lifetime. And what makes us Crystal and Mandee is our soul combined with our ego and their experiences from this lifetime. Our soul is like a piece of us from every single lifetime. And I might have been Mandee in this lifetime, Ingrid in another lifetime, Frederick in another, whatever it is. So it's really important to remember that our soul's so much bigger than who we even are in this one little life.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going back up because Sophia says that she would like a card also. Always yes to a card.
So I got you, Sophia. Sophia also said, who is purple in orb color? I've seen that for a year consistently. Oh, okay. So purple is a very divine color. I believe that very much is connected a lot of the times to Archangel Metatron as well. And as well as Ezekiel. And it's also just this really beautiful color that comes in. Usually it's associated with your crown, and it comes in for divinity, for learning, for gaining consciousness. So when you're starting to see a lot of purple, I feel like that means you're very held. You're held by a higher legion of consciousness. There's different energies coming in for you at this time and giving you messages. Purple orbs are amazing divine angels and archangels. And I'm also seeing a lot of Metatron energy around you as well, Sophia. Let's also pull a couple cards for Sophia. Feeling two. Ooh, you got the ever unfolding rose cracked open. It's happening for you, not to you. They're showing for you, Sophia, like, yeah, there's the traumas and dramas and all the things happening, of course, but you're actually really doing like the conscious work where you're moving your life's work into this whole moving prayer thing. And you're taking a look at it and saying, okay, what is happening in this moment? How is this showing up for me? How is this happening for me to grow and expand on a conscious level and become more of myself and more empathic? And what they're showing is as a result of this, you are stepping into deeper and deeper and deeper unconditional love. And it feels really cool and really exciting, really expansive. Even at times they're showing you feel disassociative. Like, is it okay? Like you love so much, it sometimes feels like you don't have feelings. And so they just want you to know that this is all happening for you because you are getting more and more conscious and more in tune with so many things. And everything that's happening, even the hard things, are very much happening for you at this time. You also got boundaries. Where do you need to establish better boundaries? I'm actually seeing, Sophia, that you've gotten better at boundaries in a lot of ways, but this one's coming in for you because you're just needing more soul time and more soul space. And like, I need an extra half hour in meditation. I need an extra half hour pulling my cards. I need this or whatever it is. And don't say yes when you really mean no, particularly if there's any holiday pressure going on and you don't really want to be somewhere. Go ahead and pull out that excuse card and just trust your energy and what it's telling you at this time. So hopefully that makes some sense for you, Sophia, and know that you are being very held by the divine. And that's why all of that purple is coming in for you at this time too.
That's awesome. That's awesome. When Corey was little, we got into this thing. I was like, look, yo, I do the same thing for Ben. I feel like I let everybody, I mean, they can use me if they need to, but Corey was big because if he didn't want to go to a birthday party or want to go somewhere, I'd be like, just tell him I said you can't. I don't care. That way he didn't feel bad about making excuses, but also felt good because he knew that in his little soul, he wasn't there that day.
Mhm.
And so he needed a day. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. I'm good with that. I said, we got to teach ourselves at that point. So unfortunately, some people don't know that they have to do that, and they don't know that's okay. My son only knew that because I taught him. I had already learned.
Totally.
So it,
Oh,
it's one of those fun things.
Sophia said she doesn't want to be in stores. Yo, that's where I started with a lot of my empath stuff. It was I didn't want to go to the grocery store. And then I talk about it openly on Joke and a Talk on our other show, but like marijuana, like weed and cannabis really helped me to start to put my shield up, to be stronger. Like I was like really lucky because I lived like next door to a grocery store, so I could smoke a little and then go grocery shopping. But I get like all this crazy anxiety every time I went. I'd be picking up everybody else's energy around me, and I'm like, why can't I just put my shield up and focus? And so then I started to like take a hit or two of weed before I would go, and it helped me put my shield up, and it would help me like enjoy picking out my apples and like taking time and like tuning into the song going on instead of the mean old lady at the end of the aisle or whatever is happening. And so that really supported me a lot. But anybody who's out there, especially when you have to go into stores, things like that, put that shield up, ask your angels to surround you in white and blue light and protect you. Do your best to focus on things. Glenda says she tries to not make in public, dodging and weaving. That's a great way to do it. And too, like anything you can do to just we got instant gratification now. Order some stuff or do your best to like do whatever you got to do to protect your energy right now. Sophia said, yes, selfish energy is everywhere with the holiday seasons, but a lot of bye in the air. Totally. And we were talking about that. I'm going to be releasing a show tomorrow, hopefully, or Wednesday called Unschooled. And it's all about the holiday season. And we were talking about like the weight of the holidays and how there's a lot of heaviness to it, whether it's grief coming up for you because there's a lot of transition from loved ones at this time, whether it's obligations to have to go to parties or different places, whether it's financial debt because you got to buy presents and do all this stuff, whether it's seasonal, like I said, seasonal depression, different things coming in. But there's always these opportunities to figure out what it is we need to do best in order to be mindful of our own energy and then how our energy is going to impact the world. And the holiday seasons is like a really great time to do that. And if we don't feel like buying, maybe let people know that. Say, hey, I'm not doing presents this year. I love you. Let's spend time together. Let's spend quality time. Let's go watch a show together or a movie, or how about we make some food, or like there's just so many different options. So if you're feeling weighted down by the holidays at all, for anyone tuning in, just know you're not alone. No, it's okay. All of the things that are coming through, and that it's also okay to say no. And whatever you feel like gifting or giving from your beautiful heart is perfect. And that's kind of about it on that.
Mandee, that's all I have to say about that. So there was one more person who asked for a card, and it was Beth Sine. I hope I said that right. I'm so sorry. She said, yes, please.
Awesome.
And I agree. While you're getting your angels ready to talk to her.
Glenda said she'd like a message if possible too. So I don't want to forget Glenda.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Glenda. I swear I didn't mean to ignore you.
Didn't do that intentionally at all. She promised.
I feel the same way. I actually made a decision a long time ago that I just don't buy presents. I do buy I buy small ones for my son. I've always had a number limit. I do not do big things because I just don't like that that's what Christmas is about. It's just a personal experience and whatever. I can't bring myself to just shopping endlessly for nothing for no reason at all, other than people are telling me I have to buy because 'tis the season. I can buy for people throughout the year. I would rather have coffee with you. I'd rather spend time with you. I'd rather do something with you. So presents aren't wrong. It's just I don't like to feel pressured into getting people things. It's weird. And then it loses its magic, I feel like.
Yeah, that's what I said. Tune into your heart. It doesn't have to be materialistic. And if it is, and it's
Hi, Ursula.
somebody wants, like, go for it. It's amazing. So your heart will tell you exactly what you need to do. We're just encouraging you to give from pleasure and not pressure. And
Right.
you're feeling guilty for some reason or another because things have shifted, or you can't afford to do the same thing you used to do, or people don't receive it the same way, or you just don't want to, make an impact on the world. Just tune into your heart and ask your heart what's going to be best, and it will not serve you wrong. Yes, Ursula, it was perfect time for Ursula to tune in because we've been talking about this a lot. Presence is enough. Truth, sister. Yes.
It's like, I thought that was kind of cute how you had just talked about that, and then she was like, hey, by the way.
It's all divine. Ursula, of course, she popped on right. We were talking about this because we've been talking about this earlier this week. So yeah, she's feeling it. So this one, let's go back. This was for Beth, right?
Yes, Beth.
And just to ask for a card or a specific question or anything? Okay.
No question. She just said she would love a card.
Everybody's getting 2 cards tonight. I guess it's the 2-card night. Beth, you got Summer and the Elder. Summer, bask in the joy of light. You also got this paired with the Elder, move beyond ancestral patterns. They're showing me, Beth, that this is actually a confirmation for you, that you've done a whole lot of work in being really conscious and mindful of ancestral patterns, some things you learned that maybe aren't serving you, some things that have happened in your life with family members or people you've learned, even soul family members that you're like, I wish that they could have had a little bit more freedom, and you're learning from that and creating more freedom and space in your life, which is resulting in, even though we're going into winter right now, they're showing that you really deserve, you have carved out some space, and you deserve to carve out a little bit more space to be present and enjoy this chapter and enjoy the light that comes through. And that especially, moving into the holidays, if you can get outside for 10 or 15 minutes a day and get your third eye or your palms in the sun, it's really going to stimulate you. They're showing that you really need that in your life, and that you're also meant to be a bit of a lighthouse, and that you show up for a lot of other people. So even though it's wintertime, you're a bit of a ray of sunshine coming around. So it's really important to be mindful of your energy and remember, and then you might be sharing that energy with some of your elders, especially moving into holiday season here. And even if, they've crossed on or there's ones in spirit, you're still transmuting and healing that energy by doing what's best and what's right for you. So those ones were for Beth. And then we also have
Glenda. I don't want to forget you again, Glenda, because I love you.
You can never forget Glenda. She's amazing.
I know, right? She just is the funnest human.
You are.
She really
You're
is.
so cool. You're so cool. All right, for Glenda.
Beth says, thank you so much.
Awesome. Glenda got fall into my arms, surrender, holding oppositions, the extremes of life. And then with that, you got your life is a canvas, artist, manifestation, creative, accountability. So what they're showing, what's happening right now is there is an opportunity to surrender. And surrender doesn't mean we give up, doesn't mean we're not conscious or active in our life. It just means we just don't really care about what anyone else kind of thinks. And we're doing the best that we can at this time from our own hearts and minds. They're showing for you, Glenda, do your best to allow the Great Mother to hold you. Do your best to maybe create some juicy time for you to meditate, even if it's just in your bed and you say, hey, hey guys, your family, I need some time and I'm going to go to my room for a while and I'm going to meditate. Let yourself be rocked. They're showing you literally being rocked back and forth. Let the Great Mother and your ancestors hold you, and know that it's okay to just retreat and relax sometimes as you're surrendering into kind of some extremes and some wild things going on. You literally talked about not caring about it's gonna work, I swear, because what happens is everybody's just a projection of what's going on in their own internal world. So when we care about what other people think or might think, even if sometimes it's the people we love most, it's still impacting our authentic, heartfelt path and decision. And it's important to really just tune in. And you, my sweet sorceress sister, are someone you can trust what your beautiful heart is leading you towards, and trust that you making a decision based on what's best for you and not what other people think or might think is going to be the best for everyone involved around you. Even if they don't have the best reaction at first, it's going to help. Yes, I needed to be swaddled and rocked like an infant. Yeah, we all do. So many of us.
Yes.
It's so important, and we can do that. It's important we self-soothe. And over at the Sea Goddess Temple, our creative director Rachel has hammock hanging, and everyone takes time. It's like a seated hammock, but like a bigger one. Everybody goes in there and rocks because we all need it. I cannot tell you how many clients I recommend these things to, because it makes you feel held, and we as women especially need to feel that, and like we can do that for ourselves as much as possible. So do that through meditation, do that by allowing the Great Mother to rock you, and then do that maybe by inviting in a hammock or something. Or if you have a supportive partner at home and someone who's willing to do that for you, let them know, I just need some snug time, and just let me get weird for a minute and let it out. And like most people be like, all right, cool, I love you, whatever. So make that happen for yourself, sister. Then you also got this card with this whole surrendering and falling into the arms and not caring. Then all of a sudden you get a lot of power back. And it says your life is a canvas, artist, manifestation, creative accountability. You get the opportunity to wave your wand, to think your thoughts, to step into your power and decide what kind of life it is that you want to live. And by making decisions based on what your heart wants most and not what anyone else thinks or might think, then you start lining up and co-creating and manifesting exactly what it is you want. We're moving into the new year. We've got the winter solstice tonight, tomorrow. We're moving into winter here. Now is the time. And, the Gregorian New Year. Now is the time, if you so choose, to dream it up. Maybe make a vision board. Maybe think about what it is you want to call it this year and what's going to serve you.
I'm so sorry. I'm not laughing at you. My stomach keeps growling, and it sounds like there's a bear. I hope you guys can.
I thought that was your dog in the background.
No, that's my Ben is awesome. On the couch, legitimately laughing his ass off in silence because it's like, God, Crystal.
That is awesome.
I'm so sorry, you guys.
I thought it was lucky. That's hilarious.
I'm so sorry.
Don't be. That was the end of Glenda's message. You got this, girlfriend, and it's okay to surrender, and it's okay to ask for what you want, show what you want, and go ahead and spend some time maybe making a vision board or co-creating. Crystal's telling you
she's got pizza. Oh, everybody knows how much I love pizza. It's the worst how much I love pizza. And yes, everything you said, it's absolutely beautiful. And the transition, Glenda, that you're going on through right now, it's funny because we get the best things in our lives when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable to the changes that are coming and taking place around us, instead of like trying to control all of those things out of fear of whatever that is. I sit with myself, and a lot of times, like if I need to be cradled, I actually will sit with myself and kind of meditate myself, holding myself, and kind of from a bigger version, like, I don't know, I picture it being me, but it's like a bigger version of me holding myself. And so that's helped immensely with a lot of the stuff that I've been through, because we all need that. And Glenda's somebody who takes on a lot. She is a stress keeper, which means that the other people who don't know how to handle stress in her life tend to be like, please take it. I don't know what to do with it. And I know a lot of people have those people in their lives. And so we sometimes just have to step aside and let people handle their own mess. And that's what makes us feel bad. But that's holding ourselves too, because we need to be held just as much. So I love those things.
And we need to normalize that. Like we're taught, that we're not supposed to feel this need for being hugged or held or rocked or cradled once we're an adult. Not true. And I've talked about it on the show before. I'll talk about it again. Actually, it kind of goes back to some stuff we were talking about before. There's a tribe in Africa that when you are born, right? When your soul comes in, the women of the tribe are like, oh, one of the women's pregnant. There's a baby. It's going to be coming in. Cool. They go out to a tree out in like the African safari, I guess, if you will, wherever they're at. And they sit around and they meditate and they call in the soul song of this soul. That's why part of me is like, I think our soul names are like, and like weird, like frequencies. And each of us have our own unique song as a soul and our own unique vibration. And because they're so taken away from like this matrix that we created, and because they have their own beautiful natural worlds, they're able to tune in with that so much easier. So when the baby is born, what happens is all the women of the village get together and they sing to the mom and the baby. They sing the soul song. They let the baby know it's welcome. And then as the baby grows up throughout the years and becomes a young child, little human here, that soul, every time it messes up or fucks up in the village, they, instead of punishing it or making it do, some sort of like punishment or repentance or whatever it is, they stand the soul in the middle of the village and everyone makes a circle around that being and sings their soul song to them, to remind them of how beautiful they are, how pure they are, of how innocent they are, and of how good they are. And then that redirects them back into peace and harmony and not, messing up, and reminds them to tune into their soul and who they are. And they have incredible amounts of peace in their tribe and in their village.
I think that's absolutely beautiful. I love that.
Right?
I mean, like, there are so many studies that prove that, the more we hear, the more we take on, and that's what we think of ourselves. And so if, it also, I'll, I guess, quote Dr. Phil here. He said something along the lines at some point in time that I remember hearing him say that, it takes one attaboy, or it takes so many attaboys, but you can erase it with one, like whatever the opposite would be for that, something along those lines. And it's like, it takes this much more to erase that one thing that you said, because that soul takes that thing on. And so the more we raise people, the better off they're going to be, even if they're acting stupid or, not with common sense. You can punish, and I don't want to even say that word, you can redirect people without getting down upon them and making them feel like they're incapable and stupid, because that's kind of the opposite of what you're trying to get anyway. So I don't know. That was one of those things that I feel like Spirit bestowed upon me with Corey. And there were times I wasn't the best mom, obviously. Him and I have had many conversations about those times, but there are a lot more things. And I really, really wholeheartedly believe that was one of the best jobs I had in my life, was, I don't want to say raising him. I didn't raise him. He raised himself. But being able to guide him in those moments, but also allowing him to understand at no point is he a disappointment. And still, now that he's in college and he's away, that's one of the things that he sends me text about. He's like, I am so grateful that even though he always thinks he's failing the class, he's not. He has not failed yet, but at the same time, he always thinks he's failing. So every time he does, and he's like, oh, I'm just going to fail this class and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you know what? And if you do, that's okay. Well, what if I get kicked out? I said, well, if you do, that's okay. Because either way, it's your journey. I'm not disappointed in you. And if anybody else is, they can screw off, because they don't know how hard this is for you. And so in that moment, he takes that and he's like, thank you. Because apparently there are other parents who are very difficult and hard on their kids because they're not getting straight A's or they're not getting this. And he goes, it just stresses them out. And then here I have you, who's just like, Corey, it's okay. I don't care. Whatever happens, happens. It's going to be okay. That's not a determining factor on your intelligence. Not at all. And you're going to be able to make it and be successful in whatever you do, whether this happens or this happens. So just remember that. And so I guess that's the best supporting factor that we can give to the people around us, is just letting them know that mistakes happen. And sometimes we don't always act appropriately based on what we should be acting, but that's where unconditional love comes in, and saying, I love you anyway. Just because we think it's stupid, we can say, hey, that probably wasn't the most intelligent thing to say. We have a joke in our house. Corey has been raised off from you are the smartest, dumbest person I have ever met in my life. How can you be so intelligent but have this much common sense? Because he's so knowledgeable. But then also on the same aspect, he says the same back to me on the flip side, because I can't do math with numbers and letters. I mean, so either way you look at it, we're essentially yin and yang for each other. And so that's one of those things. What he has, I doesn't, and
Sounds
the
like a
opposite
dream
end.
team.
So when you have children or when you have people or when you have whatever in your life, you kind of got to make sure that you raise them with love, even in the bad moments, because they're going to remember those moments more.
The most.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. What a beautiful night. Thank you all so much for joining us.
It was a different night. It was a smoother night.
It was like, a different,
it was kind of like a whiskey and ice type of night, I feel like.
It was.
I don't know. That one was a smooth one for me. So it was really kind of neat, but it was a lot of cool conversations. And I thank all of you for tuning in. Mandee, my dear, how can people meet you, find you, and all of your team?
SeaGoddessHealingArts.com. Please give us a like, a share, a follow. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube under Sea Goddess Healing Arts. We have all kinds of shows, classes, products. We've got an amazing blog. If you're interested, once a month, we send out a soul broadcast, which is kind of a collection of insight from all the different healing artists at Sea Goddess Healing Arts. And all you got to do is subscribe to our email and you get that free resource once a month. So we would love to hold space with you. And it's been such an honor. Thank you all for joining. There's been so many of you. Thank you, Beth. Oh, I'm so glad you enjoyed that story. Beautiful and helpful guidance. It was a great night. Oh, Glenda also said.
Oh, I was going to say, I just saw that. I was just reading.
One last one.
Hold up.
And then Crystal's going to share how you get a hold of her.
It's like, once again, here I go, just ignoring Glenda. No, I'm just joking.
No.
It said, Crystal, I heard a message the other night say, you have two. Any thoughts? Then the next night I heard a gunshot. It woke me up and I knew it wasn't real. The gunshot wasn't real? I don't know. That might have been real. I'm going to tell you, I think the gunshot was real because they're making me feel like that actually was something that you heard. However, I'm also going to tell you that you have bat ears because they're making me feel like you have this like hyper sonic, I don't know, hearing thing going on. And so as the veil is sort of thinning for you, you're going to hear on different realms. And so even though that gunshot may not have been happening like on your land or in your space, they're almost making me feel like it did happen, like, and I'm going to say another dimension type of situation, because they're almost like giving me two different worlds taking place here, where you may be asleep, but also on top of the sleep, you may also be traipsing around in other dimensions, like doing your thing. And so that's how they're presenting it to me. The gunshot was real. It was just in a different way. Also going to tell you, they're making me feel like you have been doing weird, fun things with past lives in your dreams, which means you're essentially traveling into the past of some of your past lives to help heal and fix some of the BS that you've had to kind of take into this life. And I got to tell you, you've got some fun people around you from those past lives that are kind of raising their hand, which is usually my symbol of people who take some responsibility for some of the crap that you've kind of packed up in your backpack and brought in this lifetime. And so please just know, you might not notice who the people are in your dreams, but they are definitely people you know, okay? Just on a very different level. And so take what they say with a grain of salt and take the situation with a grain of salt, because sometimes you may be Bill and Tedding your way back into the past and time traveling in your sleep to different realms of what that means, okay? So I know it feels very similar and it feels very real, and it can be very scary when we wake up because sometimes we see certain things, but how they're giving this to me is they're actually making me feel like these are parts of your past lives that have already played out. You're just seeing them so you can put the two and two together why you may have trust issues in this life, okay? Also, they said when it comes to the two, they're making me feel like this is a relationship that you have with two different people right now currently in your life. And they're not necessarily making me feel like it's anything. It's just kind of like meh is how they're giving it to me. They're not making me feel like it's ugly. It's not toxic. It's not anything that you have to jump immediately and make anything. I feel like you just have to listen and pay attention to what is taking place. What are their words versus their actions? Okay. Because I almost want to say that there's been a situation around you that's taken place where you've kind of had to make some boundaries with people that you would really want probably in your life. And they're making me feel like there's still some passive aggressive behaviors taking place. So if they're like, hey, you need to move forward and how are we going to move on and blah, blah, blah. But they're the ones that keep kind of poking and prodding in situations because they don't really know that that's passive aggressive, and passive aggressive is toxic. So they're almost making me feel like what's happening is you're shifting and moving into a different realm, dimension, new version of yourself. And with those changes, you're starting to really understand in yourself in those moments where it matters, kind of what the layers to all those things look like. And so it's not that you have to stop conversations with these people. They're just making me feel like they want you to be more aware of some of the things that they do and still try to manipulate in some forms or fashions behind closed doors. Okay. So just understand. And I do have to tell you, I have a grandmother over here who's winking her eye at you, which usually means to me that she's the one that's giving the message. So just know she's like, hey. But at the same time, it's just sauciness. I feel like you're dealing with sauciness. And, sometimes in our life, we have people who are probably the most beautiful people, but like they want to kind of stay in control. And we're like, no, stay in your lane because like this is my house, my life. What we're doing here is what we're doing here. And then they're like, that's kind of how this is coming across to me. I don't think there's any negativity behind it on purpose. I just don't think they fully understand some of the things they're saying and doing. Okay. And they're giving me too. And Glenda says, LOL, yep, I've got bat ears. Yep, moving and shaking in my dreams. Gotcha. Okay, makes sense. Totally understand. Yes and yes. Thank you. And then my grandmother I never met, and a gunshot was the ending. So that makes sense too. Yay.
Well, there you go. Boom.
Yay. The face is
Wow.
just because it sounds like a lot. It sounds like you need to do what Mandee said, and you need to cradle yourself and stop allowing them to like take you on weird journeys in your night sleep, because I think you're a little exhausted. I feel like you need that time. I think you need that meditation and that space and that whatever. I think you need that right now based on all that.
A little bit, for sure. It's so fun. I've been waking up to gunshots, even though I live on an island. I've been waking up to gunshots every day for the past week because it's duck hunting season and there's marshes and a bay out behind. And there's always boats. Yeah. And my dogs are like they hate it. I'm like, oh man. Like I thought, like, so because I grew up in Vermont and there's lots of gunshots all the time there, but then you don't think you'd hear it or there'd be hunting on an island, but there is.
Yeah, well, see, you have duck hunters. I was going to ask you, I was like, do you think it's like a spirit thing, or because where you're at, weren't there some fights kind of taking place around that area?
There is in Atlantic City. I saw gunshots this past winter over at the goddess temple in the middle of the night, but it was like distraction. It was like these like 3 teenage boys, and then one of them like had a gun and shot it up and like just shot it off in the air. And then they all just like walked different ways. And then all of a sudden the cops showed up like 2 minutes later. And I'm like, I feel like they shot that off as like a distraction. And there's like a sensory grid kind of thing in the city. So it was very interesting. But I am feeling called to share a very quick story. One time I had a premonition. I went to bed and I was living in Denver, Colorado at the time. And I was staying at my ex-boyfriend's house and we were sleeping, and I got up to go to the I had a dream that I got up to go to the bathroom and I heard someone breaking into my car, taking my wallet, and I opened the window in the bathroom to say stop, and they shot me. And I woke up and I went to the bathroom and I thought about opening the window and I was like, no, I'm good. I'm going to go back to bed. Went back to bed. I get up in the morning and my boyfriend at the time went to go get some stuff for breakfast, and he like left the house and he came back in and I was like, he's going to tell me the car got broken into. And he was like, I forgot my keys. And I'm like, okay. And he goes back out, comes back and goes, the car got broken into. He goes, you left your purse in there last night. And I was like, oh, I did. But I had this amazing like premonition that it protected me, because that probably would not have gone well. And they took all my cards. They maxed them all out at like, I don't know, like gas stations and McDonald's on like gift cards. They were really smart. They just like bought tons of gift cards with like all my cards. But it was very interesting because spirit protected me and I had like a full premonition about it. And I probably would have startled them if I caught it or opened the window or took a look at the time.
See, I would have loved to have said that I would have followed that, but I don't know if I would have seen that as a premonition. I don't know what I would have done.
It was
That's so
exactly what happened. And then the
that's
next
so
day,
wonderful. I don't know. That's so beautiful that they did that, but also so terrifying for you.
yeah,
It's like
I was
that's
felt
very terrifying
protected.
too, Mandee.
It was very terrifying, but I also felt protected. I was like, oh shit, spirit
Oh my
got my back.
lord. I
I just
love
need to
them
trust.
though. Ugh, I don't know. I can't say enough about spirit and what they do for us. It's amazing how many opportunities that they give us to see them throughout the day. And sometimes it's just very hard to see them, but that is a beautiful, scary story. So I'm really happy that you are okay and that happened, but I'm also like, I feel like that would just be scary. So I'm also sorry that you had to experience it.
Yeah.
But
it
anyway,
gave me freedom. It gave me trust. It gave me like, wow,
yeah,
you know
you're
what?
here for me.
Even when I'm alone, somebody's got my back if I'm willing to trust it. Holy shit.
I love that. I just had a client today where they were saying that that's kind of what they're trying to teach her, is that they're trying to teach her faith. It's those little things that happen to us, like that was a big thing. It's those things that happen to us, like in the weirdest times where we're not expecting it the most, instead of us sitting in our bed going, show yourself to me, or if that was you that dropped that pan on the floor, can you do it again? It's not those things that spirit does, and that's what catches us up, because we think that they're supposed to give us those things, but it's not. It's the bigger things that they're dropping into our path at all times. And I think that that's a really cool example of the ways that they're here for us in all of the ways. It's not just in those moments that we think that they should be, jumping hoops for us on our behalf and dropping pots.
Especially in those moments where we're not, when we're not demanding it or calling it in at that time actively. It happens especially in the subtle moments, in the weird ways. And you're like, oh my God. Okay, thanks.
Heard you loud and clear. Grateful. Thanks.
Crystal, how do people follow you and get a hold of you?
I am Mitten Medium. I'm located in Michigan, and I have a Spirit Speaks with Mitten Medium page on Yahoo. Sorry, Yahoo? That's not on Yahoo. Lord have mercy. It's been a long day. Even though it hasn't. I didn't even work this morning. I had one client. So it's on YouTube, and it's also on Facebook. That's how you can get a hold of me. Thank you, guys. And please like and subscribe. I know that you're listening from Sea Goddess Healing Arts. They would appreciate the like, the subscribe, the sharing, and I know I would too. So thank you guys so very much for all that you do, and thank you for telling us how we're helping you in our lives, or your lives. See how I do this? Brain.
It's perfect. We love you all. Love and honor you, Crystal. Thank you all for holding space with us here on Spirit Speaks.
You have a great night, guys. Thank you, Mandee.
Bye.